Welcome to this lesson. So in the last lesson we looked at set timeout, and this lesson let's look at set interval. So as we already looked at it, as we already saw, set interval, it keeps calling the function again and again and again indefinitely after a timed delay. Okay, so if you set it as 2 seconds, it will keep calling the function that you've given inside of your set interval every 2 seconds. Okay, so it can be used for things like timers and things like that. Okay, so for scheduling repeated functions in real world scenarios as well. For example, if you want to schedule backups every 1 hour or so in a real world scenario, you can use the set interval function for that. So every hour it'll call the backup function and it'll back up. Something simple as that. Okay, alright, so set interval, it has a capital I. Okay, please remember that because it is case sensitive, and the syntax is exactly the same as your set timeout syntax. Okay, I'm just gonna replace it with interval. So the function name first, not your parenthesis, just the function name, and then the delay in milliseconds, and then the arguments for the particular function. Okay, let's create one and see how that works. Okay, let's see. Okay, function, I'm just gonna give a function count like this. Okay, like this, and I'm just gonna say console.log of plus count like this, and let's create a count before, so it actually gets incremented. There's something to increment and not just undefined. And then we can set our interval like this, and inside of this just call the function count, and then set the delay as 2000. So every 2 seconds you're gonna get a count value in here. Okay, let's see if that works. Oh, okay, sorry about that. Okay, I've reused the variable in my function. That's not right. Okay, so since I already created a variable called count, let me change the function name. Okay, all right. 2. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now it'll just keep going on indefinitely. Okay, unless we stop this. So it's just gonna keep going on and on and on. Now let's look at some other examples so we can see how this works. So instead of actually calling a function, you can create an arrow function like this. You already know how that works, right? So I can just create an arrow like this, and I can inside of here I can just say console.log of plus count like this. Okay, so that's possible as well. If I refresh, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. See, that works as well. Okay, so as I told you before, it's gonna keep going on and on and on, and if I have to stop this, there is something called clear interval, just like there was for the clear timeout. So there's something called clear interval, and I can use that. Alright, so I can just call the clear interval function after a particular time. So I can use the set timeout, okay, to wait for some time, a couple of seconds or something like that, and then call the clear interval within it. Okay, so I can do something like that. So this is the set interval. Okay, we don't need this function because it's running inside. The function is inside. The function code is inside. Okay, and then what I can do is I can create something called tr. Okay, if I do a console.log of this tr, you'll know what's tr is. Okay, I'll do that. Okay, alright. So what I can do is I can create a set timeout that stops this function after 10 seconds. Okay, so after 5 executions of the set interval of this function of the count, it has to stop. So how would I do that? I'd have to first create an anonymous function like this, and I can just call the clear timeout, because clear interval, it cancels the repeated action which was set up during the set interval. Okay, so I can just create a clear interval like this, after some seconds, 10,000 milliseconds, which is 10 seconds, I'm just calling the clear interval function and cancelling out the tr which has the set interval. Okay, so if I refresh, so tr is 1. It's because it's the first interval that was created. 3, 4, 5. And it has stopped. Okay, I can actually create another line of code in here, and I can say something like console.log stopped or something like that, so you understand. See, this is a function. Okay, it has to be created within. You already know how to create your arrow functions, right? You can create any number of lines of function code as long as it's within your flower brackets. That's fine. So I'm creating 2 lines of function code in here, not just the clear timeout but also the console.log. But since it's 2 lines, it has to be within the flower brackets. If it wasn't, then I could just write it like as it is. Okay, so if I do it like this, let's refresh. 1, 2, see, after 5 it says stopped, as because it's been 10 seconds and it's stopping. Okay, so you can use your clear interval to stop it, but you can't just use it as it is, because if you just give a clear interval in here without giving your set timeout like this, if you just give a clear interval in here, then the function would not run at all. I mean, there's going to be no interval at all. It's just going to stop everything. So that's why I created it after a clear timeout. Okay, after some time, so there is a chance for this, so the function gets a chance to run. Okay, so it runs for a couple of seconds and then it stops. So that's it for this particular lesson. So we've looked at both the scheduling functions in JavaScript. So I'll see you in the next lesson. Thank you.